Hello everyone, and welcome to our very first weekly lesson overview for our new Bible study, Yahweh, Divine Encounters in the Old Testament. Unfortunately, our plush First Kenner Studios are not available to us at the moment, but don't worry, we'll be back there next week where we can get the PowerPoint going. So basically, I want to give you just a very brief video this week, and we're doing an introductory into this new study. It's a year-long study in the Old Testament looking at divine encounters, looking at times when God encountered humanity, taking a look at these individuals that we know very well, but taking a deeper look at that encounter they had with God and trying to understand a better idea about what we learn about God, His nature, His character, and what we learn about ourselves. We're going to be talking about a lot of very good topics that are very important to our lives today as we go through this study. We'll be hitting on some deep theological things like the nature of good and evil, and issues of suffering. We're also going to be taking a look at things about, what does it mean to follow God and to be obedient even when things are difficult. These are things that come up for believers today and need a good biblical answer, and this study is going to do a good job of helping us walk through that. So this week we're actually taking a look at, believe it or not, Matthew chapter 5 verses 17 through 20. So why are we starting a year-long study in the Old Testament and the New Testament? Well, because we're trying to answer the question, why study the entire Bible, specifically the Old Testament, because many people look at the Old Testament as a bit outdated, of course not relevant for the modern believer because it doesn't have Jesus, it doesn't have the gospel, it doesn't have the great doctrine that are found in Paul's letters. And this lesson is answering the question, why study the Old Testament? And we're looking actually at what Jesus had to say about why we should do that. There in Matthew chapter 5, it's the Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus is talking about how He did not come to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill them. So basically Jesus is saying that, look, I'm not here to do away with the Old Testament or to make it invalid. I'm here to fulfill it. And that's what our lesson focuses on this week. But what I've done is I've actually sent you in this email, there with the link to this video, a wonderful article from the Gospel Coalition that takes a look at the importance of the Old Testament as it relates to Jesus from a little bit of a different perspective. And I think this will be great as you prepare, and also really good to include in this week's lesson. Basically is taking a look at the importance of the Old Testament in the life and teachings of Jesus, from His upbringing and education to how Jesus used the Old Testament in His teachings. So it's just another reason why the Old Testament is important, why we should study it, because it was so vitally important to Jesus Himself. In fact, the article is entitled, Jesus Never Read the New Testament, which, if you think about it, is true. Jesus depended on the Old Testament for His scriptures and for His understanding of what God was doing in salvation as He taught His followers, as He helped mature His disciples to a point where they could then take the gospel out to the ends of the earth. And so we need to understand the importance of the Old Testament, not just as Jesus fulfilling the law and prophets, but as Jesus integrating the Old Testament intimately into His life and teaching. So the article's great. It's not very long, so enjoy it. It'll be a great asset to you as you prepare. And as you prepare, if you have any questions, please let me know. Be happy to address those as you go along. And God willing, I look forward to seeing you this Sunday. Thank you all so very much.